Forspoken trailer hit Twitter while I was out of town, and this Forspoken trailer did not get good reception. I want to break down what exactly is going on with this game, sort of retracing its history and what has happened with it, from the way that it debuted and how people talked about how it looked like a tech test, to the gameplay and our own analysis of that gameplay when we saw it, and thinking that it kind of looked a little bit maybe too grindy and too rough. And then this trailer comes out and gets absolutely dunked on and memed and made fun of. So if you enjoy these, I put everything right here at the beginning so you don't have to go searching for my thoughts. It is a longer video though, because it's a live stream. I'm going to end the previous stream and bring everybody over. We covered Sony blocking Game Pass, and that was a pretty spicy stream, so be sure to check out that VOD as well if you want to see my coverage of that and what exactly went into it. And, Sony apparently not wanting things to be on Game Pass, and what my thoughts were. So what exactly is going on with Forspoken? Let me give you a really, really quick update on what exactly I think is happening here. This is a Reforge update. The Forspoken trailer that hit Twitter has been largely criticized, called cringy. Even the Forspoken trailer cringe is an actual predicted search term on YouTube, and it's not doing very well. I want to talk about why, but I also want to analyze what exactly has been going on with this game, from the way that it first debuted and how people thought about it, also to the delay itself. Should we be concerned about this title and everything that is going into it? Be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button if you like these quick update uploads, and check out Reforge Gaming, where I stream these discussions live. So why exactly was the trailer described as cringe? First and foremost, it was very, very dissonant compared to everything we've seen up to this point. While it feels like a very, somewhat at least, serious title with a very serious tone to it, of this girl suddenly ripped into this other world and she has these magical powers, it was very written in a way that just seemed cheesy and silly. Sort of like that record scratch where people started memeing back in the day, where it'd be like, record scratch, yep, that's me. You probably wonder how I got into this situation. It had that sort of a vibe to it, and it just didn't seem to fit with even what was happening on the screen. Very intense combat, explosions, and really wild things happening. And it wasn't just that it was poorly written and not matching up with what was happening actually in the trailer, but the voice acting wasn't that good. It really reminded me of some of the audiobooks that my children listen to that aren't necessarily high in production value. They kind of feel low budget and a little cheesy, which from a first party title, a big title for PlayStation that is known for their really great story and voice acting, and you look at a lot of their first party titles, this one just feels very, very low on those quality points. Now, why is this a concern? Well, marketing can get divorced from the final product. We've seen this in the other direction, where games are overhyped and they show graphics and performance and gameplay that doesn't line up with the final product. This close to the game's launch, and having a trailer come out that seems completely disconnected from everything we've seen up to this point, is usually a sign of a problem. Like, what's going on? What's the vision for this game? Who greenlit this trailer? Who thought this trailer was a good idea? Young Ya said he felt like they were trying to go for that Marvel vibe, where it's really serious, but there's sort of this comedic lightheartedness into the, baked into the scene and baked into the dialogue. So many are saying, like, is this going to be a serious game, or is it going to be silly and uninteresting? Am I going to care about the main character? You also have to consider this in light of the delay. What's going on with the delay? They seem to indicate in their delay announcement that the game is ready. They're just kind of applying some polish, and they delayed because they were talking to their strategic partners. There's now reports coming out from industry insiders saying that many people are avoiding God of War Ragnarok, which makes sense for a PlayStation title that's brand new, trying to kind of break out. Makes perfectly good sense, and a strategic delay is probably good. Hopefully it has nothing to do with development or a tonal shift in the game where we're suddenly not doing something all that serious. Are we just going to be sort of laughing at the situation with lighthearted, not so great voice acting throughout the game? There's also the virality of hate. Just things that go viral because people like to hate on it and dunk on it. The internet's undefeated. Everything likes to get memed and made fun of and poked at, and this thing certainly was no exception to that. Companies need to be very careful. Negativity sells, but not always in the way that you want. These types of headlines and these types of things are not good for your product. This isn't the same thing as when a celebrity is sort of negatively in the press and then it really promotes their new album or their new movie. This was bad for the game from where I sit. They need a course correction. Maybe a Sony State of Play or a better trailer. But for now, Forspoken's getting kind of memed on and dunked on. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. As always, hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss my quick uploads. And check out Reforge Gaming where I stream live. And I'll see you in the next video. All right, let's chop this one up because I don't know what in the world they were thinking. I mean, you guys know I am a big Sony fan. I'm a fan of all the platforms, but I'm a big Sony fan because they typically have really, really good first-party, single-player games with great voice acting and soundtracks and dialogue. And this game has been, from the beginning, a head-scratcher for me. I've been pretty critical of this game since the beginning. When it first debuted, I said that it looked like a tech test. Right? I said it looked like a technical test. If you go back and look at the initial Forspoken trailer when it first came out, I said, I don't know. I need to see more is what I kept saying. And then the second time we covered this game was during a press conference. There was some sort of a showcase, and there was a bunch of gameplay of Forspoken baked into that showcase. And I said it didn't look like that great of combat. It looked very, very... everything was very spongy. Every fight seemed to take forever. Even the most basic fight looked like it took a really, really long time. Some of the UI decisions seemed a little silly. Seemed a little, goofy, and I was critical. I was like, I don't think the gameplay looks that good. I thought the gameplay at one level was impressive graphically, but experientially, I thought it looked pretty poor. And then they delayed strategically, and I thought, well, okay, that makes good sense. And then this trailer comes out, and I see nothing but negativity. And I'm like, man, this poor game just can't get a consistent messaging across. They just can't. They just don't seem to be able to do it. Barrier says, here is almost the exact same teaser trailer from last year. An exciting, terrifying land, newly acquired magical powers, sarcastic sentient cuffs, a dragon. We are so excited to join the fray. So is it the same dialogue? Is it the exact same dialogue? It has 27,000 views from September 24th of 2021. So why would you, what do you think is different about that trailer? Or was it just that nobody was paying attention to it? People are misremembering the tone and the tone and the story setting. Oh, you're saying it had the same tone. Okay. Well, let me take it this way then. Could we get 16 more likes? We're in a new stream, so everybody that came over with the redirect, thank you so much. If you came over with that redirect, do me a favor. Make sure you are on live chat and make sure you're smashing that like button. It didn't suddenly shift to lighthearted. I don't understand. Oh, I don't understand why people are surprised with this voice acting and writing. It's not some new shift in tone. The lines in the new teaser are literally ripped from the first trailer we got last year. Forspoken has been marketed the exact same day since 1. I think this is a miss of recency bias and news drought. Or what have they done since? Because since, I think they've just focused on gameplay. And I think the gameplay looks pretty serious. It doesn't look lighthearted. It doesn't look goofy and silly. It looks kind of dark. It looks kind of foreboding and scary and honestly kind of tough. It looks like it's going to be maybe a tough game. And to play a tough game, to be like, there I am, talking to my cuffs. I'm not saying. So let me restate this then. I don't think it's been a big marketing shift, but I also think their debut trailer from September of last year only had 27,000 views on Twitter. So maybe they weren't really as popular back then, right? Maybe not as many people were paying attention to them. That's entirely possible. That now that they've got way more eyes on them, why? Well, they just delayed. They were supposed to be coming out very, very soon. So now more people are paying attention. They're like, what the frick is this trailer? They've done the same marketing. Just last year, they released almost exactly the same teaser. Can you co-stream the trailer? I haven't seen any chance. All right, yeah. Let me just show the trailer. And Actually, I'm going to show the one that Barrier just linked me to. All right, I'm going to show that one. Hang on. I got to Okay, hang on. Speakers like this. And then I got to change this to where is it? And then okay. Let me get my headphones on here. All right, so this is the trailer from September of last year, and the audio you're going to hear is basically exactly the same as what they did last year.
So let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth.
Hang on. You guys can probably hear it, but I can't. Let me change something. It's going to be advanced properties, gaming rig, monitor only. Okay.
So let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth. I'm seeing freaking dragons, and oh yeah, I'm talking to a cop.
Calf, it's a bit reductive.
Okay, so hang on. Yeah, let me pause my own music. Okay, so let me be honest. They increased the cringe. In the most recent trailer, they increased the cringe, man. Like the cringiest part's not in there. The latest one that they did that has 3 million views. Okay, so this didn't go the way that they wanted to. The trailer I just showed you doesn't have as many cringy lines, and it only has 27,000 views. This video, I'll mute my music. This video has 3 million views. It went viral for all the wrong reasons.
So let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth. I'm seeing freaking dragons, and oh yeah, I'm talking to a cop. Yeah, okay, that is something I do now. I do magic, kill jacked up beasts. I'll probably fly next.
Yeah, I do that now. Come on! Watch the story trailer. Cringe is going to be subjective. Yeah, listen, I hate the word cringe, but sometimes you have to use something that you don't like because it's the best tool for the job. Okay? Like, she's like, yeah, I do that now. Yeah. Come on. It doesn't... Listen, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but this is a Sony property, and I'm going to be critical here. I don't think this is very good. She says that in the first reveal trailer. Okay, let me explain something. My point is nothing's changed. Great. We've established that nothing has changed. Do you want to know what's different between the first trailer and this trailer? More people are paying attention. Like, they have more people's attention. So let's say I'm marketing my game, and I come out with some goofy, lackadaisical, kind of knee-slappy, cheesy trailer, and it gets, 20 to 30,000 views. And then, as things progress, I get more people paying attention. I have more followers on Twitter. I have more people, looking at what I'm doing, okay? That's great. That's awesome. But now I'm increasing the likelihood of people being like, that kind of looks bad. This, it kind of doesn't look that great. Don't expect her to start talking like she's Galadriel. You know what's changed since then? Square Enix sold off Western studios due to concern of Japanese game sales being cannibalized. I'm not sure what you're pointing to, Paul. It's being ripped out of context, though. Look at the plot and where she's from. A young New Yorker being teleported to this place. Like, of course, there's going to be some young kids going to be hyped to have powers. Do people expect her to start talking like she's Galadriel? Well, okay. Then the question would be, Sven, does anybody want to play as a, like... Does anybody want to play as kind of like a mouthy teenager? It's like imagine if it was like a surfer dude that suddenly was transported into Norse mythology, and he's like, bro, I'm in this place and it's not Earth, and all of a sudden I can like throw this hammer, bro, it's wild, like I'm like killing dinosaurs. And and I think I might fly next. Like, nobody wants to no, who wants to play? Nah, that might actually be a pretty funny game if they just owned it. Yeah, but I just don't know. I'm not trying to be a hater, but I'm like, bro, that's not a very inviting game. Spider-Man's a mouthy teenager? Yeah, but Spidey pulls it off. Like, Spidey pulls it off. Like, you have to do it in a certain way. And, like, I'm looking at this and thinking, like, I don't think this is a game that... I just don't know who you're marketing to. Who are you marketing this game to is the real question. Because this is how I'm gonna state it. I feel the vision for this game has been dissonant since moment one. Look at all the things that we've said, right? Look at all the things that we've said. When they first debuted gameplay, what was like the primary thing that a lot of us were saying? We were saying, it kind of looks like a technical test. It looks like they're testing out a new engine, right? Doesn't seem to be all that great. Then they released gameplay, and we said that the gameplay, I at least said, that the gameplay looked a little grindy and a little monotonous. It's just sort of like... like attack after attack after attack. These just garden variety enemy fights, they seem to be taking a very, very long time. Thank you for 3 months of membership, Uninformed Gamer. I missed Big Fesh. I missed your re-up when I was doing my show open. Not here as much as I'd like to because of work. Hope to buy you a beer someday. Thank you so much for the 7-month milestone, Big Fesh. And so I think from the bottom to the top, the Forspoken trailer is literally just indicative of the fact that this game, it just feels like a pretty confused game. It does. It doesn't necessarily seem to me, from where I sit, like they know the game that they want to build. It's not like this trailer in particular is bad. It's this trailer, nothing feels connected. Let me get this straight. I'm seeing fanboys. Oh yeah, I'm talking to Lono. Okay, there's some things I do know. I join memberships. I decimate jacked up fanboys. I probably donate next. So let me get this straight. I'm seeing freaking fanboys, and oh yeah, I'm talking to Lono. Okay. That's something I do now. Please don't get on this train. Trust me. What is driving the hate behind this game is not the dialogue or something wrong with the game. It's people calling the game woke. I don't see that being part of the dialogue, Corey. From the very beginning, I've seen constant claims about it looks like a tech test, the combat looks like everything is a sponge, and I saw people, criticizing the UI. The UI looked like it might be kind of wonky, with some of the angles and the lighting. And then this trailer hits, and I think saying, well, the trailers, it's been like this since the beginning. Okay, but way more people saw this. Way less people saw the first trailer. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's gonna be love or hate game. So do you guys think that's what this is? So I think Horizon Forbidden West is proof in the opposite. There was a crap ton of Twitter screaming, "Get woke, go broke" about this trailer. They hate women. But why did that not happen to Horizon Forbidden West? Like, I guess I don't understand. If we're going to claim that the criticism and the claims that this is cringy, if we're going to claim that it's being driven by insecure dudes that can't play as a chick. But what the frick then? Why did Horizon... From minute one, Horizon Zero Dawn was like, I want to play that game. The trailer hit, and people were like, oh my gosh, that game in that world looks amazing. And the lead was a redheaded woman. Aloy's pretty mannish. She doesn't even wear makeup. Yeah, but that's not... It did happen to Horizon. I don't remember that ever being part of the dialogue. I covered the debut of Horizon. That was never a thing or a part of the dialogue. Not liking woke does not mean hating women. Well, it often comes across as if the lead is a woman, you're trying to go woke. There's an aversion to strong female leads that sometimes does feel a little bit like, I don't like to play as a woman. Yo, Mipsy coming in with half a year. Thanks for doing that, man. Renewing the membership and hitting a nice milestone. If you think hating woke means hating women, you're just ignorant. Nobody's saying... Well, somebody might have said that. I'm certainly not saying that. I think there are people that see strong female lead or strong lead that's a minority, and they're like, they're just trying to go woke. And it's like, well, or maybe they just want to tell a dope story, and this is the character they chose. I didn't see this as woke, just cringe. Yeah, I didn't go and look at the comments because I don't like to see that, because I think people commenting on Twitter, you're getting like the bottom barrel of humanity's intellect when you do that. Let's go see what a bunch of anonymous haters are saying on Twitter. Like that, why? You know what I'm saying? Only when it's forced does it seem woke. It doesn't feel forced at all, right? I got an Xbox One key for this. There's an embargo on the 25th. Okay. Yeah, somebody memed it for God of War. Who, me? I'm just a freaking god, as it turns out. Sha, I'm all about that axe life. I'm the handsome devil next to me. Fam, that's literally my boy. Yeah, not interested in this. Not interested in this. If Ragnarok did it, I would die. They should do it as a joke to show solidarity with the title. They fly now? Yeah, that in Star Wars was bad. They fly now? Yeah, they fly. What? Trust me on this. The hate for this game is being spearheaded by the fact that the main character is an African-American modern-day female. I think that summary is lopsided. I have been critical of this game since moment one, and that's never been a part of the reason. That's never been a part of my reasoning. There are plenty of people that have looked at this game since the beginning and have been like, what in the frick is this game? The marketing is weird. It's dissonant. The writing's not that great. The voice acting's not that great. It looks like a technical test. What is this? I didn't say that when I saw Horizon Zero Dawn. I was like, wow. Game looks incredible. Forspoken is a brand that has a new character that no one knows anything about. People are projecting feelings based on what they think the character should be. All this female character play garbage started with Last of Us 2. Possible. Could be. I mean, look at every movie and TV show that comes out nowadays. It's always led by a young female black character. It's forcing everything now. Well, but what do you mean it's forcing everything now? How is it forcing everything? How? What was one of the most successful movies this year? Spider-Man. Not one white male hero, but three. 3.5 if you include Doctor Strange. What are you talking about? What do you mean? What? Some of the... all the shows and TV stuff and movies coming out, that's not been a problem. It's like, every time I go to turn on my TV or go to the movie theater, That's all it is. You know, the movie theater and the TV box is just overwhelmed by women. Like, what? Yeah, and Top Gun. the other really big movie that came out this year, it was Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise was the lead. Compare this to Amazon Lord of the Rings series. This doesn't feel forced. Rings of Power is chock full of forced stuff. I don't want to talk about that. Oh, my bracelet's finally done charging. Took a long dadgum time. It was sitting at 96 for like forever. New Game of Thrones show. The writers changed George R.R. Martin's story and the characters because they were white. Listen. Okay. I'm not going to deny the presence of what I call diversity dust. When we take a movie or a show and we're like, well, let's just sprinkle a little diversity dust on the surface and try to appeal to people in the most superficial way possible. There are black elves now. Like, most of the black people I interact with are like, that's not what makes me watch a show. It's almost insulting to think that that's how I view content in the most superficial way possible. So I'm not going to sit here and act like that's not a thing. There are definitely companies that are like, let me just sprinkle some of this on here instead of making really cool stories that are original or cool new characters that are original. Let's just take existing stories and characters and change their skin color. It's superficial garbage, but that's not what this game is. That's not what this game is. Nobody is intellectually looking at Forspoken and saying, that's a problem. Okay? Virtually every single one of the outlets that I looked at that covered this game from the beginning have said very similar things. It looks like a tech test. When the gameplay finally came out, a lot of people were like, it looks okay. It looks a little grindy. It looks a little monotonous. Like, it looks like base level enemies are going to take an eternity to kill. Okay? And then this trailer comes out and we're all reminded that, oh my gosh, why is the writing and the voice acting like this? Why does it look this way? Why does it sound this way? To me, the dialogue from the beginning has been, this game, there's something dissonant about it. There's something awkward and odd about this game. I don't think, like, here's the mistake I think that people make. Okay? Not trying to be political, just comparing it to something with a ton of diversity dust. No, I know. This is something that I think continues to happen. I think people attempt to get out from underneath legitimate criticism, and they do it by going to Twitter. And they say, look, this guy with no followers and his entire Twitter history is nothing but spewing hate. Him and a bunch of other drones like him said ignorant, hateful things. And they take that and they put that lens in front of the light and they cast all criticism in that light. And I'm like, wait a minute. No. Stop that. Going to the worst possible example of human response, criticism, or critique and being like, that's why people are hating on this game, bro. It's because it's got a female lead and she's black. No, that's not why. All you're doing is proving there are really ignorant, hateful, awful people in the world, and they're just going to latch on to anything that's different than them, and they're going to spew hate at it. They do it all of the time. There was a girl recently who is blatantly cheating in Call of Duty, and she did the same thing. She tried to flip the entire narrative around, and it's about the fact that I'm a girl. No, you're blatantly cheating. It's as clear as day. I could take my glasses off and cover one eye and put the TV on the other side of the room, and I could tell that you're cheating. I don't give a crap if you're a guy or a girl. But this is the new thing. This is how you get out from underneath criticism. People are just hating on it because we decided to go with the lead character that is a woman. No, that's not at all. I think or hope the trailer was just a voiceover and not really that it'll be in the game. Not explaining the premise better isn't helping either. Yeah, do they consult the diversity slider? Yeah, that Blizzard came up with. Hollywood does that all the time with their movies. Oh, you don't like it, it's because you hate women. Right, like, I'm not going to endorse that dialogue here. I don't think that's why people are criticizing this game. Oh, but look at how people are talking on Twitter. Yeah, that's what they do. As I said the other day, Twitter, stay mad. Like, they're always mad. People say nothing wrong with Baird in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. 2022, people see a teenage black modern female character in a game speak like a teenager who's excited to have powers, and now the dialogue is cringe. Well, Corey, think about what you're saying. I watched the trailer, and I literally grimaced. I was like, ugh. Is that what I'm doing? Is that what I'm doing? Like, I can't hear a teenage black modern female talk about being excited to have powers, and I'm like, you think that's what I'm motivated by? I literally watched it last night and I was like, who pushed this out? Who greenlit this? This is bad. This is bad. The tone is so odd. The tone isn't the problem so much as the writing in that tone. Yes, I would actually say the writing is a bigger problem than the tone. Okay, thanks, Mama. I have to watch it now. It's available out here. I'll replay it for you. What about the trailer didn't you like? Okay. Let's make an extreme example before I show the trailer. So my daughter listens to these audiobooks, and they're called Magic Treehouse. And the premise of the books is that these very young children, I think they're like 10 and 12, okay? They go and they do all this stuff. And they're going to, historic times and all of this. And one of the reasons I don't find it particularly enjoyable is because they talk like 10 and 12-year-olds. And I don't know about you, I don't find the dialogue of a 10 and a 12-year-old to be all that invigorating, okay? So, up it by a couple of years. You got like a 16 or a 17-year-old girl or guy as your main character. You're taking a bit of a risk, because if you want to make them talk like a teenager and you want to have this almost like silly, irreverent lightheartedness to the dialogue, as a 40-year-old man, I'm going to be like, duh. Right? Spider-Man Miles Morales is constantly making teenage quips just like this. No. If you honestly think that the writing for Miles or Peter Parker and the voice acting is on the same level as this, I can't help you. I can't. No. Trailer isn't that bad. The dialogue is cringe, but gameplay looks intriguing. I'm gonna play it one more time, and I want you to tell me that Miles and Peter talk like this.
So let me get this straight. I'm somewhere that's not what I would call Earth. I'm seeing freaking dragons, and oh yeah, I'm talking to a cuff. Yeah, okay, that is something I do now. I do magic, kill jacked up beasts. I'll probably fly next.
Like, She literally says, I do magic. She said, I'm seeing freaking dragons. That's even hard to say well. I'm seeing freaking dragons. What? Who wrote that? I don't swear, and I have a hard time saying that sentence well. Bro, what? Are you seeing this? I'm seeing freaking dragons. Seeing freaking. Gah. It sounds like bleh. It sounds gross. Seeing freaking dragons. What? That was all off the cuff. I'll see myself out. It doesn't even have to be effing. She could literally say, I'm freaking seeing dragons would sound better. Bro, I'm freaking seeing dragons. I'm seeing frickin' dragons. It's awkwardly written. Don't you hear that? I don't know. It's again, it's not about, to me, it's not about the fact that like, oh, if Peter Parker was saying that, I'd be okay with it. But no. It's poorly written. It sounds awkward. It's phrased awkwardly. I get a complete mismatch here, says Creature. The visuals look serious and the voice acting is silly. It doesn't work. It's poor editing. Well, and people would say that Spider-Man does the same thing. Spider-Man's in crazy, intense fights with a giant lizard, and he's like, he's being mouthy and doing little quips. I just subscribed to say WTF is wrong with you, mofo. What's wrong with me? I don't know. The audio sounds like a podcaster commenting on a game. It doesn't blend, it's jarring. Dialogue in the trailer isn't a narration, it's dialogue from a cutscene that wasn't in the trailer. Anything else sounds cringy when played in the wrong scene. I'm positive she drops an F-bomb in the actual game. They cut the part where she says the word crap right before freaking dragons. Everybody's overreacting so hard because there's no game news. I don't know. I feel like this is a bad look. In the first trailer, she drops an F-bomb? Really? If that's the first trailer anybody sees, how are they supposed to know it's about a modern-day teenager in a fantasy world? I think that makes the tonal clash worse. She does sound her age and something I would expect from that age group. Okay. Let's take that action. That's a good discussion point. While I'm doing that, can we get 200 likes on the video? We only need 19 more likes. We had a really strong start for this stream, so thank you so much for being here. I'll take that action. That's how teenagers talk. Okay, great. Well, the average age of gamers is 28 and up, and men make up a very large percentage of gamers. Men make up a huge percentage of people who watch trailers on Twitter and YouTube. And their average age is 28 and up. How many 30-something and up dudes do you know that are like, bro, I can't wait to play as a teenage girl? Like, I'm not saying that you can't make the game. I'm saying if that's your audience, you're gonna have to package it in a different way than, well, this is how teenagers talk. Right? Like, Spider-Man's a great example. They package Spider-Man in a way, like when you play through Spider-Man, which we're going to play Spider-Man on PC today just to check it out. When you play through that game, you never get the sense that they're like, well, this is just how teenagers talk. No, It's how Peter Parker talks. It's how Peter Parker talks. It's how Miles Morales talks. Like, they have their own vibe. Like, they have their own character. She just sounds like, it's like, what's up, fellow kids? It sounds like she's just sort of trying to do, like Yang Ya said. She's kind of trying to do the irreverent Marvel thing, and it doesn't fit. It sounds kind of awkward, right? This is how teens speak. My younger brother sounds like this. Thank you for the 5 spot. I raised you all Tower Fantasy. Oh, you sweet summer child. Do I have some otakus and weebs to introduce you to? All right, what? No. I think you're missing the boat here. I'm not saying that middle-aged dudes don't like playing as young women. I understand there's an entire industry that makes me uncomfortable because it's a bunch of grown men who really enjoy playing games and looking at depictions of women that are like extremely young, to the point that I get uncomfortable. Like, I don't even like covering some of those games because it makes me uncomfortable. I was like, this is something, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but like, this is on the line of inappropriate. There was literally a TikTok the other day where the guy's like, yeah, I'm watching this anime and it's about this 16-year-old girl who fell in love with a 50-year-old man. And he's like, oh, it's not like that. And he starts trying to justify it. Like, it was a really funny dig on dudes enjoying that kind of content and trying to act like it's not weird because of the lore. It was actually pretty funny. Anyways, I'm not saying that there's not a market for that. That's not what Forspoken is. Forspoken, from where I sit, is a single-player game, action-adventure, where you kind of have to buy in and want to care about the character. Creature says, this is not how all teens speak. There are 3 of them in my house, all 3 female. They do not talk like that. Yeah, I think that's also, a pretty reductionist, Could it be it's a Japanese dev trying to appeal to an audience they don't understand, says Paul. Oh, I mean, it could be. We could be dealing with a translation issue. I actually will grant that. I will grant that. When I've played JRPGs that get interpreted to English, I'm like, man, this freaking dialogue is awful. It doesn't hit the same way. That could certainly be a part of why it sounds kind of awkward. Like, I'm seeing freaking dragons. Cheesy, yes. Panda is sure. If we get better understanding of who we're playing, it could work. I said this feels like a JRPG, says Valiant. Yeah, it kind of does feel like a JRPG. It does. Where, like, all this crazy stuff's going on. Like, there's, like, a dragon eating the world, and, like, your entire family might die, and you're like, the dialogue is like, we need to get to the town to stop this from happening. It's like, what? That doesn't really capture the gravity of what's happening. Hurry! We gotta get back! Because the dragon is destroying the town! My family might die! Huh? That doesn't seem connected to the severity of what's happening. It definitely feels that way, and this basically is a JRPG of sorts. You got Japanese developer, you got the action RPG element, so that is probably leading to some of the dialogue sounding a bit like a little awkward. It's like Dora the Explorer becomes a teenager. Doomslayer with 3 months, that's a blue badge. It's like MCU dialogue or humor, but even more unnatural and cringy. So no anime game coverage. It's basically what happens when a Westerner has a Sikas as opposed to a Japanese person. Jokes aside, excuse me, the dialogue feels like it was written by people who've only listened to TikTok influencers. Lono is back. Missed you, man. What's good, Marvel? Bad voice acting can kill a game we all want to experience. Can you imagine a movie sounding like that? Right. The protagonist, Frey Holland, a woman who was preserved despite her rough upbringing in New York City, and her life hasn't gotten any easier now that she's about to turn 21. Yeah, so she's not 17. Imagine somebody getting ready to go out on their 21st birthday party and they're talking like a teenager, like Peter Parker. That's what everybody's saying. Oh, that's how teenagers talk. She's 20. I don't know about you. But when I turned 21, I don't think I was talking like I did when I was 17. The voice acting sounds 14. Yeah, where did you get that information? Is it from the wiki? Yeah, right here on their official website. Forspoken follows Frey, a young New Yorker transported to the beautiful and cruel land of Athea. So that's, I don't know where he pulled that from, but that's her name, Frey. And if that's correct and she's 21, then I don't know. She does not give off 21-year-old tough upbringing in New York. The Frey voice actor is Ella Balinska. She's had leading roles in Charlie's Angels, Run, Sweetheart, Run, and Resident Evil, Born in London. A normal person gets transported to another world and gets powers. Oh. Isekai. Oh, that's what Yang Ye kept saying in his video. He's like, an isekai game. I was like, what the huh? The voice acting in the clip Lono played is exactly how people talk in TikToks and YouTube shorts. I'd argue that it's representative of a younger modern-day teen and young adult, which may be the demographic they're aiming for. Yeah, and here's the thing. That's actually totally fine. It's totally fine. If that's your target audience, then I don't think anybody should be surprised that a bunch of dudes are like, this seems bad. You're not the target audience. Texas says that he got it from the wiki. Those are ironic, though. It's the Joss Whedon meme all over again, says Wheezy. She speaks like the way she speaks is a caricature of modern speech. It's made even more apparent by the stark contrast of the setting, says Zuth. The character is how boomers think young people talk. Nothing wrong with it, not my cup of tea, but still not necessarily bad objectively. Yeah, it doesn't feel like they went for like silly lighthearted. It does. It feels like they're trying to like mimic and mirror how they think people talk. Which, if you listen, this cuts both ways. If you have like a Western developer writing, a Japanese character in feudal Japan, they might end up struggling to encapsulate how that person would speak. They might end up coming across as a caricature rather than a good representation of an authentic Japanese person in feudal Japan. So on the other side of that coin, if you have a Japanese developer attempting to write a young New York female, they might end up dialing in, a little cliche, a little caricature, a little stereotypical, and it starts to, and then the Westerners and Americans watch it and we're like, we don't really, who really talks like that, you know? It isn't Japanese writers. I thought it was a Japanese developer. I mean, Paul put the developer in the Discord and said that there was a Japanese developer. Not true, look at Ghost. No, I wasn't saying it would happen every time. I'm saying it could happen. The people writing the script are not Japanese. The writers are all American. Well, that makes it worse. That makes it worse. Tsushima turned out fine. Yeah, and Tsushima was done by Sucker Punch, and Sucker Punch did so much research that they were made ambassadors of the island of Tsushima. You guys got to listen very carefully. I'm very careful in how I phrase things. I said it could happen. You could end up with a game that is lots of caricature and stereotypical writing. I didn't say that it would, or that it always would. I was very careful in how I phrased that. As someone in their mid-20s, I can confirm that social media and pop culture, this kind of speech exacerbates a stereotype. It's literally the equivalent of, hey, fellow kids. It's still a Japanese developer, no matter who writes the story. But, Paul, if the writers are English-speaking persons, that makes a significant difference. What it means is they're not writing in Japanese and having to, interpret it or translate it. If the writing is the worst thing, then it'll be a good game. I actually think that that's a problem. Personally, I actually think that's a problem. I think if you're going to do a character-driven game, right? You're going to do a character-driven game, and I'm playing as this person, and I'm going through, and I'm doing all this stuff. Then I 100% think the game needs to be great. As far as like writing, dialogue, and everything else, right? It needs to be really, really strong. And imagine trying to play, the first Last of Us or God of War or Horizon Forbidden West, and the writing and the dialogue is bad. Your previous surfer, he retracted it. Maybe he's going to rewrite it. Maybe it was just a bad move by one of the corporate overseers who made them drive up that Fortnite energy for the trailer because they thought it would fly, looking at the demographic projections. Looks less character-driven, more gameplay-driven from what I've seen. No. The trailers are very much focusing on her as a character. She's... Look at this! Look at the trailer... Look at the trailer that I had playing during my show open. Tell me that this is not focused on her. Your previous surfer analogy is on point because the media loved overplaying that Valley speech and skater lingo in the 80s and the 2000s. This is the modern equivalent. It's all about her. Here she is in her apartment with her cat. Here she is, lacking maybe some direction or meaning or purpose in her life. She's alone. She's sitting here and then boom, something happens to her. I don't see how you could not think this is going to be very much character-driven, narrative-driven game. If it's not focused on her, what's it focused on? Her jacket? Yeah, I mean, look at what's happened to her. I actually think the graphics are pretty dope. And there's Holland Tunnel. These writers have never worked on a game before, never mind a few shows, says Paul. It's this guy's first gig as a writer. I want the surfer game in Asgard. Oh, what happens to the cat? Who's going to feed her cat? I'm more worried about that. The cuffs. The cuffs are the protagonist. You don't care about the gameplay? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't give a rip about the character. You just want to try the gameplay. Darkstar says she's a reluctant hero. She doesn't take the world serious until later in the game. It's all in the Game Informer article. And I think that could be really, really cool as a character trajectory. I'll be honest. If she's just kind of like laughing it up and kind of not taking it seriously, she's in her little flannel, and then all of a sudden she's got armor, and all of a sudden she's got a cape, and all of a sudden she's flying, and all of a sudden she's battling like these insane beings, and she starts taking it way more seriously as a hero. I actually can get behind that as a character arc. I can. Because this, I'm serious. The game, I think the gameplay looks freaking dope. The particle effects alone are bonkers. That's a dragon. Yeah, Stray is about her cat. That's right. Like, this is pretty serious, man. She's got a big 1v1. She gets whooped. It's a freaking dragon. That's right. It's a freaking dragon. I'm seeing freaking dragons. Just announced, watch the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase on Friday. What time? Disney and Marvel Showcase, 4 p.m. Eastern. Son of a frick. We'll have to come back after the roundtable and watch it. Not this Friday, but Friday, September the 9th. Funny because after seeing the gameplay, Lono makes the same commentary as the MC. How cringe. The trailer that you just played has the same dialogue as the 32-second one, and no one complained about it. Well, I said freaking dragons because there's like different ways of expressing stuff. She could say there's freaking dragons everywhere. That sounds fine. I'm seeing freaking dragons. Like the way she says it, she doesn't say freaking, she says freaking, which is weird. She's fighting freaking dragons. There's freaking dragons everywhere. I'm seeing freaking dragons. What? You don't hear the difference between the two? One literally sounds like a computer trying to talk like me, and the other is me talking. It's like, I'm seeing freaking dragons. Like, okay. Bro, there's freaking dragons everywhere. What are we gonna do? Nope, not having this conversation. Good, you would lose anyway. It's good to bow out early. She can properly enunciate her words. Is that a bad thing? That's not what I said. Even grammatically, right? even grammatically, putting seeing and freaking next to each other, I'm seeing freaking, that on its own is written in an awkward way. Right? She said, I'm seeing dragons freaking everywhere, or something to that point. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's the order of the words that's awkward at the same time of you're enunciating freaking, right? Really sharply. I'm seeing freaking dragons. Like, to me, you can say that. You can talk in that way. You can be like, oh my gosh, I'm fighting freaking dragons. Yeah, it might actually help too if she was allowed to swear, because apparently she swore in the first trailer. I'm seeing effing dragons, right? Like, it might have sounded better. Who knows? When writing, you generally try to avoid 2 ing words consecutively. Yeah, it's just basic writing habit. Like, what in the world are you doing? Like, imagine me telling you, I'd help my friend. He has a lawn mowing business. What's good, Ginger? Imagine I tell you that I'm mowing freaking lawns, right? Me, of all people. I'm mowing freaking lawns. That's awkwardly stated. If I said, I'm mowing lots of freaking lawns, or I'm freaking helping my buddy mow a bunch of lawns, like, putting them right up against each other, it just sounds awkward to me. I can't be the only one that hears that. I'm mowing freaking lawns. Like, what? No errors found, grammar check. It's not a grammatical error. Yeah, grammatically correct and sounding natural are two different things. Yeah. It's also different when you read. Something can be grammatically correct and you read it and it looks fine, but then you say it out loud and it sounds awkward. Like, I read books out loud to my children, and sometimes certain books just aren't as conducive to out loud audible reading as others. Like, trying to read Tolkien out loud. Like, try to read The Lord of the Rings out loud, and then try to read The Chronicles of Narnia out loud. They're written in different ways, and no one's going to say that, like, J.R.R. Tolkien has, like, a bunch of grammatical errors in The Lord of the Rings, but when you read it out loud, it sounds awkward. So, that's what this feels like to me. It's like, that line doesn't feel like it flows. It feels wooden and rigid, which she's not even speaking in that way. She's speaking sort of extemporaneously, almost like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. I'm talking to a cuff, and I'm this, and I'm that, but then there's like a wooden rigidity to how she's speaking. Mr. Frugal with 9 months. Love the show. Keep up the great work. This game looks like Infamous with magic. Try to read Lord of the Rings, period. I'm actually for the first time reading it. Freaking is just emphasizing dragons, and that makes sense if you've never seen one before. Read Game Informer's article about the background of the character and you'll understand everything. I shouldn't have to do that to make sense of a trailer, so no, I'm not going to do that. I don't accept homework from chat. You're making a fatal error. Giving me homework in the middle of a stream is never gonna go your way. Go read this really lengthy article. It'll make sense of the trailer that everybody, memed on and dunked on, and it hit 3 million views on Twitter. Okay, that article has no bearing on the discussion. Still nope, this conversation's getting more cringe by the moment. It kind of feels like we are taking the piss at a game simply because we don't have anything else to talk about. Then frickin' leave, Corey, and don't let the door hit you on the way out. And take a frick off on your way out as well. Just leave then. Just leave. When someone does what you just did, I want to belt you right out of the room. You act like you're just above all this and you're too good. Then fine. Then don't be here. If this is beneath you, if this is so awful, then frickin' leave, bro. Like, it's easy to leave than instead of doing this, like, condescending chotch in my chat. Like, this conversation's getting more cringe by the moment. It just feels like we're doing this because there's nothing to talk. Frick you and leave then. I got plenty to talk about. People are afraid of God of War Ragnarok, and Hogwarts Legacy got delayed, and Spider-Man PC reviews are all over the place. I chose this because I thought it was relevant. I feel like from the very beginning of the marketing of Forspoken, the marketing has been dissonant and confusing. And if this is beneath your intellect, then frickin' leave. We're allowed to leave? Yeah, not you. Not you, Zubair. Oh, finally, I can leave. See you losers never, says Wheeze. Like, Darkstar, reading the article, it's not long, it'll help or whatever. I'm not trying to understand the character. Right? Like, it wasn't like my job when Horizon Zero Dawn marketed itself to withhold judgment of a trailer or the marketing. Well, I better withhold judgment until I get a character in-depth breakdown from Game Informer. No. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not saying that you can't make sense of her joviality or her irreverence. I think you can probably make good sense of it. When you outlined her character arc, oh, she takes it more serious as the game goes on, and then in the beginning, she's not really taking it all that serious, okay? There were elements of that in Moon Knight. The first time that he gets in the suit, he's goofing around, and he's not really taking it serious. He has the power of an Egyptian god, and he's being kind of silly with it, right? So, I like, you can 100% intellectually establish the fact that, like, if some 20-something girl gets transported to some world, she might be, like, irreverent and not taking it serious. But me knowing that or not knowing that doesn't change the fact that, like, it's written in a strange way and it's even voice acted in a strange way to the point that it, like, doesn't even line up with the dialogue. Now, keep in mind, I didn't just pinpoint this. During the show open, I outlined, from the beginning, this game has been scrutinized for the seeming sort of lack of vision. People have been like, it looks like a technical test. I said that from the beginning. I was like, I don't know about that game. I get a weird vibe from that game. I've said this from the beginning. When we broke down the gameplay during that one press conference, I said, she's fighting very basic enemies and it's taking forever. It feels weird, right? Like, usually your meat and potatoes combat goes pretty quickly because then the content loop has these short micro dopamine hits, so you feel awesome, and then there's a macro dopamine hit of you're leveling up, you're fighting a boss, the boss fight takes longer, right? And I thought that was a little strange. Rhythmically, I was like, why is the combat going that way? She's just kind of out in the open world, and she fights one guy, and it takes forever. Then I see this trailer, and I'm like, what's going on with this game? Like, what's with the voice acting sounding really not so great? What's with the writing not being so great? Like, that right there is a comprehensive summary of my thoughts on this game's marketing. I'm not just, as Corey would have you believe, just taking the piss because the news is slow. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I do with my content. We had a bunch of stories on the docket when I got on the phone with Creature yesterday, and I said, Sony Microsoft has got to be the lead. If I don't talk about it, everybody's going to act like I'm avoiding a negative Sony story. If I didn't talk about this, dollars to donuts, one frick or two fricks, handful of fricks would come in here and be like, we're just not covering the Forspoken trailer because it's a negative Sony story. So I thought, I've been pretty critical of this game from moment one. I think it looks weird. I think it looks awkward. I even told people, gut instinct, Forspoken's getting delayed. No, Lono, it's polishing. They're just doing polishing. It's coming out in 2022. I said, I don't know. My gut instinct is that thing's getting delayed. Boom, it gets kicked to next year. We've been covering this game. It's part of what we do. I actually agree with people concerned with the OG trailer's frame rate issues. I agree with the open world seeming empty, but not seeing this. It just feels like one more piece in the puzzle. You see what I'm saying? It's just one more piece in the puzzle. It's like, so whenever you're looking at a trailer for a game that is, we already have a plan, we don't just wing this. Yeah, games are running from Ragnarok. I lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah. Whenever we're looking at trailers, there's only a couple of things you can do, right? You can speculate about game quality, content loop, and I guess you can like give your impressions of, maybe what you think of the characters and the world or whatever. So a lot of it is it's just impressions. You're trying to get an impression of the game. Unless it's just straight gameplay and there's a developer on the sticks telling you what's going on, you're generally just trying to get a bead on the game. You're trying to get an understanding of, how good is this game going to be? And there are games where I feel like I'm trying to grab a hold of fog. I can't get a bead on the game. And this is one of those games. Like, I can't get a bead on it. I'm like, this game feels elusive to me. What's this? What is exactly going to be happening in this game, right? And typically, the way that it goes for me is there's a reveal trailer, and the reveal trailer gets people excited. So Horizon Zero Dawn, I saw a reveal trailer, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Now, baked into that reveal trailer was a transition into combat, and she's shooting the canisters off the guys' backs, and she's like sliding under that big guy. And I'm like, well, instead of just having my attention, you now have my curiosity. That looks fun. I want to do that. So sometimes it's very simple. It's just like a straight line. It's like, here's this crazy awesome world, here's a little bit of gameplay, and I'm like, I'm going to play that game. Like, I'm not going to fence it on this one. And with Forspoken, when the first trailer came out, a lot of people said it looks like an Unreal Engine technical test. It looks like they're just sort of like showing off all these really cool, awesome things that they can do, and doesn't seem like there's much substance to it. And I think a lot of us thought that. I mean, for goodness sakes, look at what happened to Sonic Frontiers. It went through the exact same thing. You have a recognizable character, and then you've got this world that feels like a testing environment. So think about that for a second. Nobody was being overly negative about Sonic because they were being anti-woke or anti-women or any of that bull crap. We watch a trailer and we're like, what was that? That looked like a technical test. It doesn't look like a game. We did the same thing with Sonic Frontiers. So companies, I think, have got to consider this. It's not just about showing... I don't think so. I don't think it's just about showing gameplay anymore. It's how you package the gameplay along with the story and along with the presentation. Because if you package it in a way like they did with Sonic and like they've done with Forspoken, bro, people were literally asking them to delay Sonic. That's like unheard of. Can you guys just delay that? We're good. To the point that the guys behind Sonic were like, we're not delaying the game. Like, that was literally a headline. Sonic devs vow that the game will not be delayed. Despite the audience basically saying, maybe you should delay that. Scrutiny is good for creatives, not needlessly bashing, but scrutiny is good. it might like good to you. It might look good to you, but when it gets brought to the public, it might open your eyes to what you actually have. Remember the original Sonic movie trailer? Right. Ugly Sonic. Exactly. I didn't think any of that. I saw the first trailer and I thought Isekai infamous with magic. Back. How bad has Lono crapped on how badly has he crapped on Forspoken? Yeah, I mean, Corey, that's the thing is everybody it's totally subjective. It's totally subjective. Like the way I've covered trailers and the way I've covered content and gameplay, it hasn't shifted. I'm not like, oh man, news is dry, better take a chunk out of Forspoken. No, we had plenty of other really big stories we're going to run this week. We have plenty of other stories that we're going to run this week. We got Ragnarok. Everybody's running from Ragnarok. We got leaks about Spider-Man 2. We had the Hogwarts delay. We got Spider-Man PC reviews all over the place. People reviewing the open world instead of reviewing the port. Platforms that thought, Valhalla's open world was amazing and gave it a 95, and then they're bashing Spider-Man. Like, I had plenty of other, and still do for the rest of this week, plenty of stories to run. And I looked at this one, and I saw everybody reacting to it, and I was like, we got to jump in on this. Like, if anything, to show people I'm not afraid to take the gloves off and start punching a Sony property and be like, I don't know what in the frick you guys are doing over there, but this thing's not getting any W's. This isn't the kind of press that you want. This isn't looking very good. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to cover Tower of Fantasy. I had some questions lined up. Right? I had some questions lined up. All right? I'm curious. When you're deciding to buy a game, so I've been kind of banking questions to keep the conversation going. The dialogue's slowing down, so let's stir the chat up right now. All right? And do me a favor and smash the like button. We could easily hit 300 likes. There's plenty of people here. When you're thinking and considering buying a game, whether you've decided yes or no, okay? Do trailers like this actually affect your potential purchase? So when you see a trailer like this, does it like go into like you're almost like banking certain things like pros and cons? Do trailers like this affect your potential purchase? Yes or no? And then I want to know why. If you're going to say no, I want to know why. Sven says no. A minute-long clip does not do anything. Josh and Bo says no. R7 says no. Reviews do. No one can call you a Sony shill when you're critical of Sony games. The narrative's ridiculous. I was what's funny to call me a Sony shill? I was actually way more critical of Horizon Forbidden West than other outlets. Do you know what I got told by people that liked Horizon Forbidden West? They said, nobody's making these criticisms that you're making. And then, funny enough, they addressed one of my foundational criticisms about combat, but, nobody else was making the criticisms that I was making. Freaking eye roll. But I was very critical of Forbidden West. I thought they got combat rhythm incredibly wrong. I thought they did the same story element rug pull too many times. I didn't appreciate some of the things they did in the game. And I had a lot of people telling me like, well, nobody else is complaining about that. Well, frick, good for them. I am. People are saying no, gameplay trailers. It's the gameplay trailers that affect my purchase, says Hex. Bello says it depends. I know trailers can be dumb sometimes. I need to see gameplay without any marketing. See, the trailer location matters as well. I didn't even see this thing until everyone dunked it. Yeah, it only hit Twitter. Creature thinks it hit Twitter, and they decided not to push it out on YouTube because it got dunked on so bad. Talika says, I usually like to see gameplay video before I decide to purchase most games, unless it's a game I've been psyched for like God of War Ragnarok or Hogwarts Legacy. Looking at a 30-second trailer like this is like looking at the cover of an art book. Oh, look, the cover art on a book. Legend says it can. The first Gotham Knights trailer looked interesting, but every trailer since has turned me off. Forbidden West is a masterpiece. We're going to have to disagree there. Yeah, I thought combat rhythm was bad. I thought it was annoying. I thought you were on the ground way too much. And they tried to alleviate that with a patch where she couldn't take damage when she was on the ground. And I think she got up faster. I just thought they kept doing this. They kept doing a rug pull on the story. Like, you think this is going on? Nope. This is what's going on. Oh, that thing that we just told you is actually what's going on is not actually what's going on. This is what's actually going on. I just think it got long in the tooth by the end. Diaz says, I first saw the trailer at work with no sound. I thought it looked good and moved on. So it was nothing I noticed until I saw people making videos on it. Dante says, it depends. If the pedigree of the developer is mostly positive, I often find myself not totally reliant on a trailer to determine my purchasing decision. I'll agree with that. There are definitely elements to the equation. Like if a company, like let's just say Ghost of Tsushima, right? So Ghost of Tsushima, in my mind, if they come out with a sequel, like trailers won't push me in one direction or the other. It's like, oh no, I want to play that, right? I think that happened with a lot of people with like Cyberpunk. I think with Cyberpunk, they were like, bro, I'm buying it, right? I'm buying it. Why? Well, it's CD Projekt Red. Look at what they did with The Witcher. Look what they did with all that DLC, right? So I do think there's a rapport that you have and a trust with the game that you're like, oh, I'm buying it no matter what. I can't stand when the dialogue of any form of media is trying too hard and it feels quote-unquote cringe. Thankfully, the gameplay still looks good, but I certainly won't buy day one without reviews. Quarterfish says, trailers like this make me wait for the actual release and gameplay before buying, no pre-order. As a PS5 enjoyer, I will admit that some of the exclusives are overhyped. What exclusives do you think have been overhyped? She actually gets up slower after the patch, and the combat rhythm requires you to understand the RPG mechanics. Most people struggle with combat because they want to play it like the first game. No, I didn't misunderstand the combat. No. I find people like you very hard to take. Because you have to denounce and condescend anything that doesn't fit within your purview. So it's the combat rhythm requires you to understand RPG mechanics. So people that have an issue with combat rhythm, I just failed to understand the RPG mechanics. It's my fault. I struggle with the combat because I was just trying to play it like the first game. Okay. Like, it's all on me. There are no legitimate criticisms about every enemy having range being almost automatic, range feeling aimbot, range feeling spammy. No, yeah, none of that's legitimate. It's you just failed to understand the RPG mechanics, and it's on you. You were trying to play it like the first game. Like, okay. I have a lot of friends that tried to play it like the first game. How dare they attempt to play a sequel in a similar way as the first? Elden Ring was a buy regardless of trailers. You enjoyed Zero Dawn more than Forbidden West? No, that's not it at all. I beat Forbidden West and I gave it like a solid 8. I gave it a solid 8. And I said, here are my criticisms. Combat rhythm got spammy. I felt like my character was laying on the dadgum ground way too much, right? I felt like she was taking naps through a ton of the fights, and I thought that the narrative was constantly rug pulling the player. They set up expectations and then they rug pull. That's not what's actually happening. They literally did it all the way until the very last moment of the game, and I thought, I don't think this is an effective way to tell a story. There were really great story elements and great parts. The first game let you use anything you had in your arsenal to defeat enemies. The second puts a greater emphasis on tools for the job. If you don't use the correct tool for the job, combat's going to be a slog. Yeah, that doesn't land on my criticism. because I had one of every I had one of every weapon type, I had one of every element type. And while that helped in some instances minimize some of my frustration, it didn't remove base level decisions that they made about every enemy having range, all those range attacks being very spammy, and combat rhythm being dissonant. This enemy just attacked and I got out of the way. Here's my window of time to use one of the tools you just talked about. And now this enemy is attacking me at range with an attack that has almost no cooldown on it. So every opportunity that you tried to create in that game was very often disrupted by a very, very poorly, I think poorly designed combat rhythm. The windows for opportunity were oftentimes non-existent. I was literally ranting about it once. I was in a 1v1 with an enemy. And it would do something, and I would literally get out of the way, and as soon as I could, I would slow down, draw back to try to shoot them, and they would instantly be initiating another attack that I had to get out of the way of. The windows of opportunity in that game were wild. It was like, what on earth? How is this fun? You have to give me a moment to do the big thing. Knock the big piece off, hit the big explosion, like do the whatever. And it was just, there were the monkey guys in the trees that were doing some of the spammy range stuff, and there were some of the more medium-sized guys. Like, the rhythms in the combat didn't work very well. The opportunities for me to do something cool were like, you had like a hair's breadth of time before they were going to do something else. I was in a big room with a dinosaur, and the big dinosaur kept doing stuff too. It was like, oh man, he just did an attack. He just turned around. Now's my time to shoot his tail. Tail moves out of the way. Here comes another attack. It's like, when am I going to get my opportunity to do anything cool? It's an action adventure game. It's not Elden Ring. Like, I'm not looking for micro moments to land one hit and then roll away and wait again. That's it. Like, I don't know. That's how I get to about Forbidden West. The gameplay was boring enough and the story points bland compared to the first. Very disappointed. For Horizon Forbidden West, I agree with you on the story section. Last part, I was like, okay, but to be honest, I disagree with the combat. Feels like an overall improvement from the first. Do you want to talk about how the animation where she puts face paint on doesn't freeze the enemies, which is incredibly brain dead and stupid? Do you want to talk about that too? Massive design flaw in that game. She's like, oh, there's some enemies coming my way. Time to put some paint on my face. Slow motion, really cool. And all the enemies are still moving. And now the enemy that I was getting ready to attack is right on top of me. Because instead of doing some cool little cinematic cutscene to create intensity and immersion, you just took me out of the fight for no reason, and now they've all moved. I literally came out of that animation once and was literally looking at the tail of an enemy like, wait a minute, that guy wasn't hit in the face. What on earth were they thinking? So, I have no problem criticizing Sony properties. I criticize that game quite a bit. You're wrong, you have to use it like a giant iframe? You mean the animation that gives you unlimited iframes? Yeah, and then when you come out of it, I literally had an enemy jumping at me as I came out of it, and then I went to do something and just got instantly hit. I'm not talking about while I'm in the animation, I'm not taking damage. Just because a button masher, because you don't have a chance to do some of the combos? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Yeah, I know you could use it like a giant iframe, like, oh no, I'm going to get into a bad spot here, let me use it as an iframe. But that's not how they used it in the trailer. In the trailer, she hits the guy, gets him super vulnerable, and in the middle of combat, she does it to increase her damage. Like, it's supposed to be like woven into what she's doing. Not like, oh no, here comes an elephant charging me. Better put paint on my face. Yeah. The weapon bonus is just a nice side effect. Yeah. Once again, I was using it wrong. I'm supposed to use this big, giant, slow-motion animation as a free iframe. It's not a button masher? No one's saying it's a button masher. I'm not sure what she's saying. Oh, it just became a button masher, is what Quiet Shy is saying. Because you don't have a chance to do some of the combos. Ooh. There's an exclusive gameplay for Forspoken on Game Informer you probably haven't watched. Yeah, we didn't really couch ourselves in Forspoken gameplay today. In the arena, you're taught how to use combos against enemies, but they just keep attacking you. Oh, yeah, where you can, like, fight the guys in the town and, like, get better at the combos. Yeah, again, I felt the combo rhythm and the combat rhythm didn't leave a lot of space to even do any of that stuff that you learned. It didn't even make any sense. It was like, oh, you taught me how to do all these combos, and there was no window of opportunity to do them. Here's Lono's once-a-week Sony bash to make it look like he's not secretly a Sony shill. I think the point is they could have done some things better. That's not user error. That's what I'm saying. Like, I enjoyed the game and gave it high marks, but, like, it wasn't without, in my mind, it wasn't without its shortcomings. I criticized it. I was seeing freaking buttons mashed. Even the best voice actor can only do so much when the dialogue is bad or poorly written. The arena was crap. I quit after one set of challenges. Yeah, the arena was just weird. It was like they tried to create melee-based combat and combos, and it didn't even seem like they adequately built the game for it. You have to wait for your melee weapon to proc before you can do those combos. Meanwhile, you're getting hit out of your stance. It depends on what weapons you paired with your armor. Weapon coils and valor surges you have equipped. I had a couple of cool things I could do with melee and Horizon. I did. I had a couple of cool things I could do. I had the thing where, like, I swung, and if I waited to swing until she got to the end, it would go bzz, and it would, like, do, like, an extra something. It was extra attack damage or something. Did a grammar check? What more do you need? Yeah, that's all we needed was a grammar check, and it's totally fine. Like, I don't think you can explain away the negative response to the trailer, because this is what commonly happens. Somebody just did it with my criticisms of combat in Horizon Forbidden West. You just want to explain it away with, you didn't understand the systems, you tried to play it like Horizon Zero Dawn. Okay, you're not engaging with my criticism, you're just trying to dismiss it. That kind of argumentation is just cowardly. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm just going to call it out when I see it. Like, you're not engaging with what I'm saying, you're trying to dismiss. I feel like people did the same thing with this Forspoken trailer. Instead of being like, maybe there's a reason that this thing went viral for being cringe. No, let's dismiss all that negativity and criticism and just be like, it's just a bunch of haters, it's just a bunch of anti-woke haters, it's just a bunch of people who don't understand the lead character. You're not engaging with the criticism, you're trying to dismiss it. Like, dismissing a criticism is not the same as engaging with the criticism. The one challenge with the giant long neck water dinosaur looking was so annoying. You couldn't get far enough away to avoid its spinning water attack. Literally impossible. Yeah, there were a couple of fights that didn't make any sense either. It felt like you literally were just going to take damage no matter what you did. If he was dodging a system in a game, you guys all know I would have been the first in line to jump on it. You guys reach for it too often. Yeah, I wasn't completely ignoring. At one point, I even took people's feedback and I said, okay, I'm going to spend today, it was one of the play sessions, I spent that day getting a bunch of weapons and elements and elementals and stuff, so I had a more well-rounded arsenal. I was like, okay, maybe this is me. Maybe this is my fault. And I did that. And I didn't feel like it changed at all. I didn't feel like the combat suddenly rounded out. It wasn't like the plane suddenly leveled out. It still felt the same. It felt spammy. It felt like every window I had was either way too short or non-existent, and it ended up not feeling very well, very good. It didn't feel like I never ended a fight and felt awesome. I ended a fight and like, well, I'm glad that's over. Nice share, have the same in blue. Yeah, I want to get, I like the red and I like the high mesh back. I want to get a Mavix. They make this exact same chair. I'd love to work with them. Giant turtles are the worst. Yeah, there were plenty of times where I felt like the giant turtles were just not enjoyable as fights. The most annoying mechanic in the game, in my opinion, was the crush status effect. You got it every time you got hit by a machine and only a potion removed it from you. It steals health, so you're one shot. I forgot about that. The issue is everyone seems to be constantly nitpicking the game from day one. First it was frame rate, then enemy density, and once they address those, it's dialogue. Same dialogue from the original trailer. What difficulty you're playing on? Just normal. Okay, let me take that up, Texas, as an argument point. People have been nitpicking from day one. First it was frame rate. Okay, let's just take that. If your debut trailer has frame rate problems in it, and this is a game that's being marketed as a next-gen game, that's not nitpicking. That's 100% sensible. We did the same thing with Starfield. We're like, there's frame drops in the trailer. There's pop-in in the trailer. Somebody approved this for global consumption. Like with Sonic. I was like, what? Who thought this was a good showcase? That's not nitpicking. You're literally trying to convince me to buy your product. Imagine a car commercial where the car goes to turn left and like you visibly see the driver, like it gets a little shaky. And people were like, what? Why is the car a little shaky on that left turn? Oh, you're just nitpicking. No, I'm not. You filmed that and you thought that was a good showcase for your car. Not running all that smoothly. Like what? Like you're gonna have a car commercial and the guy goes to start the car, it's like he looks at the camera, he's like, that happens sometimes. Boom, and then it boots up. Is that gonna really motivate you? Where was the frame rate hate for Elden Ring? For me? Incessant and cutting day one? Do we need to go watch the stream, or do you just feel like misrepresenting my content? Have you not watched any of my Elden Ring coverage? Because it sounds like you haven't. I eviscerated them day one. I said, this is embarrassing. I refused to play the game on PC, and I refused to play the PS5 version, and I said that it was a joke, that it was even a problem. I didn't hold back against Elden Ring. I literally played the PS4 version all the way. I never went to PS5. I never went back to PC. I ripped them up one side, down the other, launch night. I was like, what the frick is this? Most anticipated game, 10 out of 10, and I got frame rate drops? I didn't hold back. I got out the bat. This is why anybody who tries to get this like narrative on me, you're just gonna fail. I don't care who it is. I don't care what game it is. I don't care who the developer is. If I see something, I'm gonna get out the machete if I feel like it needs chopped at. It's clear because you didn't use camber and caster correctly. We have no From audience anymore because he destroyed Elden Ring almost daily. Yeah, I literally ran the From Software guys off because I shredded that game every time I played it. I had multiple layers of criticism. I have a video right now. My review of the endgame. What did we call that? Elden Ring Endgame, the good and the bad. The thumbnail is literally Elden Ring Endgame is a problem. Questionable design choices. Say one bad thing about Hellblade or Ghost. Hellblade had at least 2 missions I didn't enjoy because like running from the fire guy didn't feel like a genuine challenge. Some of it felt like it was RNG, and I feel like it was an immersion breaker because it was a failable environment that ruined the sense of fear. And Ghost of Tsushima had the like weirdo detective missions where like Jin had to go up and like look at a grain of rice and then go look at a footprint, and I had to go up and like press triangle. That didn't belong in the game. Those missions were weird. I don't even know why they put those in Ghost. There. That's what I'm saying. Like, anybody that tries to denounce me as like, oh, he won't criticize certain things, certain systems, or certain games, or certain properties. Get the frick out of here. That just isn't true at all. Like, you can literally go to my content and find negative videos and criticisms about beloved titles, whether it was when I was playing Horizon Forbidden West or Elden Ring. Hellblade was clunky. I don't think it was clunky. I think there's an FOV issue with some people, Complicated Sam. But it's a very set-piece-driven game, so I don't find it to be bothersome. You're usually in a set piece. You're not in, like, a sprawling open world. Why do you think the dialogue was bad in the recent trailer and not in the reveal? I was curious to see your thoughts. I'm going to admit something to you, Josh. I'm going to admit something to you. I don't remember the dialogue from the first trailer. I don't. We looked at gameplay, and a lot of times back then, I was watching stuff on mute because we were doing gameplay breakdowns. I'm saying the second game has more RPG elements than the first and relies on those elements more than the first. If you don't lean into those systems, then it's going to suck. Okay. I don't think I can disagree. There is a factual nature to what you're saying, that the second Horizon game had more RPG elements, and I think it's a fair jump to go from that to saying they expect you to lean into these elements. I don't think there's anything unfair in that. And I did that. And it didn't seem to make a difference in how the combat felt. So it didn't have this transformative effect on what I saw as bad combat rhythm. Like, if you're gonna have a game with slow-mo and dinosaurs, and I'm fighting those dinosaurs with a bow, to me, in an action-adventure game, it stands to reason that I'm gonna need big moments and opportunities to turn the tide. And I felt like this is what it looked like. Here's your shot. Here's your shot. Here's your shot. Here's your shot. What I would push for, if I was in charge, which I'm not, but if I was in charge, it'd be like, here's your shot. Chaos. Here's your shot. Chaos. Because what that does is, that creates a heroic, memorable, cinematic, like, oh, that was dope. It felt like a meat grinder. Like, Forbidden West just felt like a meat grinder. Every fight felt very similar. There didn't seem like a big difference. Whether they were charging me like a bull, or squirting water at me as a turtle, or flipping things off their tail from across a football field, it didn't matter. Every fight felt the same. Get out of the way, small window. Get out of the way, small window. Get out of the way, small window. Meat grinder, meat grinder, meat grinder. There was no... If like one or two fights would have been that way, it'd have been like, oh, these guys are a little testy. No, it's like every fight. I felt like every fight was that way. It didn't matter if it was 4v1 or 1v1. It just all started to blend together. engaging with the RPG systems aside, that was my experience, and I was not alone in that. There were other people that felt the same way. They felt like I'm laying down all the time. I feel like I'm constantly stun locked. I feel like the enemies are spammy. I feel like every single enemy having range attack was a mistake. Forbidden West gameplay felt the same because it was the same. You use the bow for every fight. You do not need to use anything else, and all the fights are about hitting weak points and nothing else. I don't agree with that. I do think there was some more depth to the idea of like certain enemies were far more susceptible to like they're not like just bows and weak points. Certain enemies, sure, yeah, bow to the weak point, knock their weapon off, use their weapon against them, yeah. How am I feeling about Exo Primal? I haven't paid enough attention to it to have an opinion yet. Isn't Elden Ring the same then? Well, you have to understand something. If you want to compare Elden Ring to Horizon Forbidden West and say, oh, isn't it the same? You just helped my argument immensely. Immensely. Because Elden Ring is a FromSoft game. It's basically open world Dark Souls. And why would Forbidden West, an action-adventure game, feel that way? What? Why would it feel that way? Now, if I want to ratchet up the difficulty, sure. Yeah, let's do it. It's like, you know, it's like doing Gimme God of War in God of War. But it's an action-adventure game. It's not supposed to feel like Elden Ring. What the frick? A Wizard of Oz remake is in development. Why would you do that? What are they gonna do next? Remake Casablanca? Wait, they're gonna set their sights on Citizen Kane? What in the blue frick? Really? Wizard of Oz? Probably in the top 5 most iconic films in existence. Just do Gone with the Wind while you're at it. Bunch of morons. Yeah, let's do Godfather too. Let's just do them all. Just do them all. Just line them up. Citizen Kane, Casablanca, Godfather, Wizard of Oz. Just remake them all. Let's just crap on cinematic history. Jiminy frick. In defense of Horizon Forbidden West, all that is made up for by the fact that you could ride a robot velociraptor that had flames coming out all the sides. I liked the game. I'm just trying to show that I think it had its flaws. After I saw the Winnie the Pooh horror movie stills, all hope was lost. Lono, Horizon Forbidden West wants you to understand that the game is more hunt than action-adventure. Things like hitting enemies to the legs to knock them down or use acid to take off armor. I think games that want me to play in a particular way, I think that's a fast route to me not enjoying the game. Do you think those were mistakes more than design choices? I think if your design choices, from a philosophical point of view, when your design choices funnel me into a particular approach, especially in a game with that much freedom, that many different approaches to combat, that many different weapons, that many different builds. The permutations on builds alone is bonkers in that game. There's like 5 skill trees. It has quadruple the amount of skills as the first game. If you're going to give me that much freedom, and then I'm going to use that freedom to play in a particular way, and someone's going to walk in the room and go, but you're not playing right. What they want you to do is they want you to understand it's more of a hunting game. What you really need to do is you need to utilize the RPG elements different than the way you're using them. I'm going to take that guy's glasses, I'm going to shove them up his face and say, cool, don't like it. This is the case always with combat criticisms. I feel like I always get in this rut with people. Oh, but you're playing it in the wrong way. According to whom? Who told you that? Where did you... So, let me guess. Let me guess. You watched a video on how to do some of these fights. and now that you know the optimum approach to the fight, you've concluded that all other approaches are quote-unquote wrong, and that the fault therein lies with the player. Now, I do think there are extreme ways that this could be true. If I go into a room and there's a big giant enemy with all these weak points that I'm clearly being shown to shoot off, and I go up and I just start hacking at the guy's ankles. This boss is ridiculous. Just hacking. Come on! Hacking at his ankles. Yes, you would be able to say, I think you're approaching the fight in a pretty narrow, ineffective way, right? But I don't think at any point when I was playing in Horizon Forbidden West, I was caveman Neanderthalically choosing some suboptimal, ineffective, terrible way of playing, and that was my fault. I was using all the enemies, like their weaknesses against them. I was trying to shoot their weak points. I was doing those things, and you're not engaging with my argument if when I say, I really felt like the rhythm wasn't exactly where it should be, because every time I would go for those opportunities to do damage, I feel like I would get disruptive, because combat rhythm was kind of thrown off. Enemies attacked too close together in succession, so the minute this enemy stops attacking and I have a window of opportunity, this guy is now attacking, because rhythmically they're attacking too much. Their attack frequency is a little bit overtuned, and therefore my windows of opportunity are a lot smaller. Well, you're just not using the right equipment. What the frick? That has nothing to do with what I said. I didn't say this enemy's taking too long to kill. I didn't say this is too grindy. I didn't say this guy is a freaking bullet sponge because I'm using the wrong weapon on him. I said the window of opportunity is too small. Because the enemy's frequency of attack is so overtuned that the minute I have a window, somebody else is doing the same thing, like smacking me across the head. Me leaning into RPG elements, me leaning into different weapons has nothing to do with anything I'm saying. There can be optimal and suboptimal paths, but I agree giving only one viable path is no fun. Or if the most optimal path, Zubair, is light years better than everything else. Like, if you have an optimal path, and here it is, and everything else is down here, if the chasm of difference between optimal and less optimal, if that chasm is so broad, it's like you just created metagaming, which metagaming is going to happen no matter what, but like, it's so sharp. We talking Spider-Man today? I'm going to play it. I'm going to check it out. I'm not saying my opinion is fact. I'm saying something that is told to you in the game that a lot of people overlook because it didn't matter in the first game. But again, I end up attacking from stealth 90% of the time for the very reason that you're saying, says Rawick. About the topic game, the trailer was trash, but it could still be a good game. I think the game's going to be fine. I think this trailer hurt them a little bit. People are like, well, it was the same dialogue in the first trailer. Okay, well, you got more eyeballs on your game now than you did when the first trailer came out. And, this one's getting more scrutinized. Yeah, one of the classes not being viable in Outriders is a good example. Exactly, yes. The difference between an optimal build in Outriders and a less optimal build, it was enormous. It was an enormous difference. And then obviously everybody's using the same build and the same class. That's another criticism of Horizon. There's very little flavor to the skills. You couldn't go back and play the game again and pick different skills for a different experience like some other games. Yes, because you would end up feeling as soon as you divert from the optimal build that you found, discovered, or read a wiki on, or watched a video on, well, as soon as you divert from that, you're going to be like, oh, this sucks. I'm dying all the time. Now, I could see somebody saying, if you would have utilized traps more, if you would have utilized this thing to lock that enemy down, you would have had bigger opportunities, to do damage. You needed to create those bigger opportunities. And I would say that's fine if it's infrequent. But every fight, I have to actively use every tool in my tool set, or the fight automatically has these teeny windows of time for me to do anything. Like I said, that ends up feeling like a meat grinder. Got to trip this guy. Got to rope launcher that guy down. Whew. Now I've got some opportunities to do something. If I had to do that, I'll give you an example from the first game. There were these birds that were pretty tough to fight because your window of slow-mo sometimes wasn't quite long enough, and their flight patterns made it hard to sometimes shoot that chest piece off and knock them to the ground, right? And I found that a very high, I think it was handling, a very high handling rope launcher where you could go ka-choom, 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 ka-choom. I found that tool to be incredibly effective at bringing them to the ground. So if I tried to approach that bird fight like all the other fights before it, I ended up getting my freaking head caved in. And somebody said, just try the rope launcher on them. So I tried the rope launcher, and I felt like it made a huge difference. See, like, if every fight in the first game would have been, if you want an opportunity to do something, you got to use that rope launcher, I'd have been like, what the frick? Why? Why didn't you just create some good old-fashioned meat and potatoes combat that makes me feel awesome? So there's these windows of opportunity to do damage. When they took some of the most base-level units in Horizon Forbidden West and gave them spammy range attacks, from that moment, I was like, I don't know if I like that. I said that in, like, my second fight. I was like, I don't know if I like that. Sometimes you need cannon fodder to make the garrison that you have to bring down feel better. If you're not giving me cannon fodder every once in a while, just something I can chop it to ribbons, and then I got to be on my A game for this guy. If everything feels, and this is actually relatable to the Forspoken trailer, the Forspoken gameplay that they released a while back, I said that. I was like, what? An open world, just garden variety enemy is taking way too long. If you got, you need some red bars. You need that moment of like, you're nothing. You're like jumping through the air and her hair's flowing. You need some of that. And I felt 80% of the time, 75% of the time in Forbidden West, just felt very meat grinder. It felt like the fights took a long time. It felt like they were spammy. It felt like I was laying down a lot, stun locked a lot. I kind of agree with you. I didn't have the same experience overall, except one or two enemies with spammy abilities that after removed X component, the fight goes normal. Not having a diversifiable skill set is a detriment to Horizon Forbidden West, and it hurts replayability. The game is far too easy made cookie cutter, and it wasn't hard to find very efficient gameplay loop. Horizon has those machines. The deer and the horse mounts are supposed to be the easiest. The bobcat machines are those machines. Yeah, I mean, there definitely were the horse and the deer that you could kill relatively easily. But often, at least in my experience, they would be surrounded by other enemy types. And that's when you get into the weird rhythm of, I'm going to do something awesome, and this guy's already on another attack rhythm. Christy Axis Quest with a renewal. Thank you so much. Welcome back in. My patience isn't what it used to be. Stuff I used to fight through now just frustrates me right away. Same here, I'm far more critical of games' flaws when before I would just power through. I mean, I think what it is it's like, I talked about this in Batman Arkham Knight when you had the guy who plays Mike in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He voice acted Commissioner Gordon. And then you had Mark Hamill as the Joker. Then you had whoever was in charge of Scarecrow. And then you had the guy doing Batman. All four top shelf voice actors. They're at the top of the shelf. They're awesome. And then the girl that did Barbara Gordon was like, she was okay. Well, she stood out to me as a problem. She didn't sound as good. Her voice acting, like, honestly, if you'd throw her in any other game, you would have been like, oh yeah, she's a great voice actor. But when you throw her in the mix with those powerhouses, she doesn't sound as good. Even Harley Quinn. Mr. J, like, you throw her in there, and it's like, and then Barbara Gordon sounded kind of, right? She just wasn't as good. And so I think that happens sometimes. We have played games that have gotten right up to the sun, man. The most excellent games ever. And when you play a game that falls beneath that, you experience something that's like, you'll be more critical of it. We've played some of the greatest video games in history. Not gonna lie, I would take a Harley Quinn game, though. Wasn't there rumors they were gonna try and do a Harley Quinn game? Cannon fodder are good for gameplay. It's a very good way of making you feel the power creep of RPGs. You start off fighting them for minutes at a time in the early game, and eventually you start to one-shot them in the late game. It's progression. We're very sophisticated consumers at this point. Yeah. It's like it's almost like the we've run into this with the coffee, right? If you experience Reforge Roast and you get that balanced acidity, and then you go drink, some Folgers, you're gonna be like, ugh, like your palate's been affected. You want another Mr. J? Come on, Holly! Joker. And then she would be like, what was some of the stuff that she said? Oh, come on, Puddin'! You do that. Happens with beer, it happens with coffee, it happens with anything. Like, you taste the really good stuff, and if you go back down to the cheapies, my wife would try to get local coffee. And she's like, it's not as good. She's like, it doesn't taste as good now. So it's one of those things where I think now, yeah, I do think we're more critical of games. I actually think it's harder on game devs now to release like really, really good, super polished professional games, because it's so easy. It's so easy for us to just sniff out the bad stuff, sniff out the weak parts. I had some incredible tequila about 15 years ago, and it ruined every other tequila for me to this day. Yeah. It's 100%. It's a thing. It's really a thing with coffee and beer. It is. Because, like, you guys used to make fun of me, right? Because I kept PBR in the house. And PBR and... what was the other one? Narragansett. And then I started trying IPAs. Good IPAs. Oh my gosh, I don't think I could go back. I don't think I could go back. I don't think it would taste the same. Like, people were always like, oh, it tastes like swill. And I was like, I like having cheap beer in the house, Goes good with pizza or a burger or something. My whole, diet is a lot different now. I used to watch other content on purple. Now all I see is red. That's right. You give me $100 bottle of tequila, and I'm like, ew, paint stripper, get this away from me. I watch a streamer who plays Rogues and is known for his Hades coverage. Every new game, people ask him to compare to Hades, and he's like, that can't be your bar, or you'll always be disappointed. A Reforge brew. Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get into beer, because I think beer is more regulated. Coffee, we don't have to do anything special with. Beer, we would. I'm getting a little bit of a headache today. I think I went a little too crazy. Beer's massive pain in the butt. Yeah, the minute you leave coffee, it just gets really weird. Because you're getting into, instead of it just being like coffee grounds, you're getting into like actual food. And it's just way more regulated because of, safety issues and stuff. I was just thinking about this. Games today compared to the PS2 era, there's a whole section of mid-tier games that have disappeared. Is it devs or pubs chasing profits, or gamers being discerning? Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what exactly it is. Because it quite literally could be that we've all changed together. They kept raising the bar. It's my metamorphosis principle, right? We've evolved with the games. So we became accustomed to, we went from GoldenEye to Time Splitters to Call of Duty and Gears of War. And like the first time you experienced those games, you quite literally had never experienced something like that before. So if the game had rough edges, if the game had bugs, glitches, or flaws, you didn't really see them because it was like, I've never experienced anything like this before. It was mind-blowing. And that's all you remember. You just remember the first Halo, the first Call of Duty, that you remember that as like, that was awesome. And now they're like, well, I mean, we're making another Call of Duty. We're making another Halo. And it's prettier. But imagine the first time you buy a car that finally has all of the crazy good amenities. It's got Bluetooth, built-in GPS. Maybe you never had power windows. Maybe you never had power doors. It's deep. My van has a DVD player in it and a screen I can pull down for the kiddos on a long trip, right? And let's say I buy that, and I'm like, what a step up. And it was. For us, it was a huge step up. My wife had like a 2000 Focus, a 2002 Focus, and I had like a 2000 Honda Civic. So we bought a 2018 brand new vehicle. It was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. If I were to go and buy the updated version of my vehicle now, the differences wouldn't be as extreme, right? I'd be like, oh, this is a little bit nicer, or this is a little bit more advanced. But it wouldn't feel like, oh my gosh, I went from a wagon to a rocket ship. Like my TV is a good example. I had a 720p plasma that I couldn't replace it. I was like, it works. And you guys just couldn't see to it. It just drove you guys crazy. So you bought me a TV from NASA, this crazy awesome Samsung. If I replace that TV in 2 years, the difference will be marginal. It's not going to be this insane jump in quality. And I think games are in that same incremental climb now, where the difference between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West and the difference between God of War is going to be minimal. And all these cynics and these whiny critics, it just looks like DLC. It's like a lot of that is a problem with the gamer, not the game. I'd like to file a complaint about the coffee order I just placed. There was not an option to purchase Frickmas blend. Yeah, we're submitting that order very soon. Thank you so much for submitting that, Vengeance, and buying a bag of the light roast. There's too much noise around game development. There's still indie teams that are absolutely smashing it. I think having limitations crystallizes devs' creativity. I think I could agree with that. That's funny. Sharks haven't changed in millions of years. Sometimes there isn't much to improve. I think I can agree with that. I think I can agree with that. The shark comments for EA. Maybe. Sharks haven't become the prey of something else in the ocean for years. They don't have to evolve. Right. Right. And I think that is something to consider, you know. That is something to consider. There are elements right now to where, and here's the thing, everybody's trying to do it. Everybody's trying to one up the other. Everybody's trying to, you know, create a reason to buy their game, you know, a reason to buy their system. And I think this goes back to the discussion that we had earlier. It goes back to the discussion that we had earlier that if you watch the way that games are developed and the way that things are always getting pushed forward, then I think it makes sense that a lot of the things I've said about ray tracing is off. I'm getting us ready for the next thing. Bloom is on, lens flares, motion blur strength. Yeah, let's turn that down. Okay. Make sure we're not getting any tearing or anything weird. I don't think we are. Okay. So yeah, it's like you don't necessarily need to evolve, but I feel like they are evolving. They are pushing things forward. They are shoving things, you know, they are doing it. And I think that's one of the reasons that people should be concerned about, you know, a weaker system. They're not always going to try to stoop down and pick things up for the, you know, for the weaker system. Okay. Let's get this ready. Oh, I'm going to like send a tweet, and I'm not even scheduled to stream. Let's go live. Part of the reason that we are going to be checking out Spider-Man on the PC is when we go to talk about it, I don't want to hear from people that are like, you haven't even played it. You gotta play it. I don't want to do that. Is it just Marvel's Spider-Man? What are they... Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, I guess, is probably what people are putting themselves in. We were dealing with that crap earlier. This underhanded, like... you know, trying to get underneath my argument instead of engaging with it. So it's like, I don't feel like dealing with that because the Spider-Man reviews on PC are kind of weird, and if I want to pull that out and talk about it, I don't want to hear from people that are like, well, you've not played it. People don't know food chain. Sharks are normal prey for killer whales. A great white, though? I think when people are saying that about the shark, I think they might be... Orcas in South Africa kill great white sharks just to eat their livers. There's a video of a dramatic event. Drone footage aired as part of Discovery's Shark Week shows orcas feeding on a great white shark like the apex predator they are. Orcas are hunting great white sharks in South Africa. Even great whites, yeah. I assumed that great whites would be too fast. And maybe, yeah, too fast. Orcas are such jerks, they play with seals for fun before they eat them. I thought they played with them to wear them out. Or have they not been able to derive any actual reason that they do it? Free Willy, don't F with orcas, bro. That's what I'm saying. Killer whales hunt in packs. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes a difference, you know. If you're hunting in a pack, that's going to give you a distinct advantage. Okay. Polar bear can get caught slipping by a killer whale. If the shark sees an orca in their hunting ground, they will literally abandon it for a year or more. And they just know. They're like, don't even mess with it. Okay. One v one me, bro. All right, give me a second. Don't go anywhere. This stream sadly ran out of steam super fast, probably because there wasn't much to say other than that the trailer looks kind of wonky and kind of bad. But it's still, we still had good results from it. But I wanted to make sure we gave Spider-Man PC some time. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. I think I gave myself a headache doing all the shouting and yelling. Got a little too carried away.
Get a picture.
Get a picture. It's a Spidey Man. Okay, time to see how this game plays on PC. Okay. There's a link in chat. That's where we're going.
Spidey, hey, do you like stuff? Sorry, dumb.
I've been a fan for like years.
Are you really him? Not just a seriously good
Spider-Man PC gameplay is finally here, and we are diving in. I didn't get to do this on the release date, but I did want to check out and try out Spider-Man PC gameplay. That way I could actually talk about it. The reviews have been a little strange in my mind, so I wanted to give it a test run, see how it feels, see how it runs, and give you my thoughts. We did have some great streams today. We looked at the Forspoken trailer and why I think it looks confusing. We also looked at the Sony paying to keep things off of Game Pass, so make sure and check both of those VODs if you missed them. And I'm going to end the previous stream and bring everybody over. And if you were looking for gameplay of this, I am in the game